to my channel where we question everything. Today I'm going to start a new playlist, and as I explained, a playlist is more a category that I play certain videos that are have reference to that title of the playlist. So politics will go over political matters, military goes over military matters, etc., etc. Now the new playlist is called an alternative viewpoint, and here basically I am going to discuss viewpoints where I differ from the pro-Western and the pro-Russian side. Now I will try to give a balanced type of assessment, but unfortunately I am also biased. Can't help myself with that. So I rather consider that as food for thought on and try to understand that this is hopefully more to the reality or the real situation than that is conveyed by pro-Russian commentators and pro-Western commentators. And the first subject I actually wanted to address is whether the Russian SMO was legitimate or is it illegal, and is it invasion? Now, the first thing that what I would like to do is, I would like you to show a time-lapse a video of how the SMO has progressed in the last 10 months or a little bit more. Unfortunately, this time-lapse only comes from goes until the 20th of November, but there has been very little change in any case, except I don't know, Bakhmut, which also didn't happen much, but let's go have a look. So here we have in February, you can see the date at the bottom, and you can see that the Russians are basically attacking from the north and on the way to Kiev. Then also from the north, from Belgorod, I believe, to the Kharkiv main city. And then you can see that they have moved up from Crimea to the north to capture Kherson city and the power plant of Zaporizhzhia. And then you can see a little bit of action in the two Donbass Republics. Now here they withdrew from Kiev city, and basically the blue areas is where the Ukrainian forces have recaptured their lost territory. And you can see that the whole of Lugansk Republic has been liberated, but a huge part of the Donbass still had to be done. And unfortunately, that was unsuccessful up till now. And then naturally there was Mariupol, which was important. And then the land bridge was established between Crimea and Donbass Republic. And then you can see very slow progress, especially here in the Kherson region. And we're now in October, November. And we had the Liman and Izium offensives, which will come up just now. Oh, sorry, it's so far away. I get confused with American dates format and South African date format. Now, what I can say is in the meantime is that in the Lavrov press conference at the UN this year, He described why this Russian SMO is illegal, is according to international law, and why it's legal. And basically, he describes that everybody has the right to self-determination and self-protection, and when the central government doesn't acknowledge the people's rights and so on under those conditions, then any person can actually separate themselves from the original country and then get autonomy and self-governance. And initially, I actually supported this action. And because how I always explained was the Donbass, the two Donbass Republics, well, they were not republics, they were still oblasts. Then they basically transformed into republics, and then Russia, Putin acknowledged them. And as they acknowledged them, they became legal entities. And as soon as they became legal republics, they requested military support from Russia, and Russia obliged and sent their troops in order to defend the Donbass two republics. And therefore, that is a totally legal way. But as you can see from this map, this is not what happened. And that is why I was wrong. And unfortunately, that makes Sergey Lavrov also wrong. What Russia has done is they have actually invaded from Crimea into the Kherson Oblast and the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, which are not republics, which was sovereign Ukrainian territory. Then they also went in from the north into the direction of Kharkiv, which was also Ukrainian territory. And then they also entered and made a big move on Kiev, which is also Ukrainian territory. And what this actually means is that Russia didn't come to the defense of the Donbass two republics as they are legally required. They were legally required. No, they did their own incursions into Ukrainian territory. And unfortunately, that is an invasion, and that is illegal under international law. So I'm very sorry, but I cannot agree that and support the Russian view. It was, at the end of the day, an invasion by Russia into Ukraine. Although I don't want to support this video, I am biased in that view. That's the facts on the ground. Now we can understand the northern incursion into the direction of Kiev. The Russian entered from the north direction and had this 40-kilometer armored column. And then they got stuck with for some reason, got to a standstill. And then pressurized Kiev for an early capitulation and an early signing of a peace agreement. And I believe that was the focus of Putin and the Russian military. Have a threat on Kiev, force them or tell them to become scared and realize that they cannot win the war, and then make concessions and sign a peace agreement to the favor of the Russians. In my opinion, that is what the purpose was of that incursion. Later, when they went back in Turkey, where they had this sort of final agreement drawn up with a little bit of variations still to be done, they went back to Kiev, and suddenly when they came back, everything was null and void. Ukraine didn't want to negotiate anymore, and we later found out that was due to Boris Johnson that visited Kiev and talked Zelensky out of reaching a peace agreement. And I believe that Boris Johnson promised Zelensky a lot of support via Ukraine, UK, and in the name of America. And what in the meantime, the Russian forces, sort of in good faith, withdrew from threatening Kiev as a sign of goodwill, whatever. And then this whole story came out from armchair generals and so on. That was a bluff. That was to withdraw or Ukrainian forces to the north and move them away from the contact line in the Donbass, etc., 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 which I couldn't agree. Well, initially I thought the same because that was the narrative, but for me at this stage, no, it's not. I don't think so. What bothers me as well is that, you know, the Donbass, two republics asked assistance. And what did the Russians do? They sent about 150,000 troops, but they divided their troops into the Kiev offensive. They divided some of their troops into the Kharkiv offensive, and then they used a number of their troops in the Kherson offensive. Yes, the huge parts of the ground was covered with very, very little resistance, and the Russian forces can move in quite far. So again, I'm going to keep this thing a little bit running. So you can see that they didn't focus so much on the two Donbass republics. And they deployed their forces not in the support of the Donbass regions. And later on, when we had this Liman and Izium offensive of Ukraine, and these guys were winning huge swath of land and so on, then we were told, no, that is all tactical withdrawals, and the Russians do not care about conquering land masses, or whatever you want to call it, huge areas. And we were given one excuse after the other. But if you really look at what's happening, there was, in my opinion, you know, I can understand the Kiev of a threatening maneuver. I can understand that, and I can support that. But I cannot understand the forces that were attacking the Kharkiv region. That is a total waste of manpower and equipment, which could have been used a lot better into defending and liberating the Donetsk republics, Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and as well as the Kherson Oblast. And at least drive the guys away from Kherson city and the big dam wall and Zaporizhzhia power plant. But no, the Russians decided to attack from the north. And then when we, like I said, when we had the Izium Liman, then we told, no, these guys are all too thinly spaced to defend that area or that contact line, because most of the troops were given to Kherson area. And then when Kherson withdrawal happened, then we were told, no, it's for the sake of the people, the soldiers' life. But now if they had other plans, they could have improved their position in terms of safety, but they have now moved into a less favorable position. Yes, from a defensive point of view, yes, it's maybe more favorable to the Russian force to be in that defensive position. But whatever they have to do is, they still have to reconquer the danger zones, which is Kherson city and the area north of Kherson city. And they have to cross the Dnipro River. And from a military point of view, that doesn't make sense. It's going to be hell of a difficult to do that. So what other options are now there available? They have to either progress from Zaporizhzhia, conquer Zaporizhzhia Oblast as well as the city, and then move around the big dam, lake, or whatever you want to call it, and come in from the rear and cut off the Ukrainian supply lines maybe, and maybe that would be how they reconquer or liberate the whole of the Kherson Oblast. But I'm not totally sure that they will do it. The problem here is that, yes, the Russians have gained a huge swath of area at the beginning of the SMO. Probably within a week, they were from Crimea to Kherson city and so on. And that was all good and well. But then we were told, no, they do not care about conquering a lot of land or space, if you want to call it, territory. So you had pro-Russian commentators make so many contradictory statements that cannot understand, well, how you say, support that type of narrative. So now we are in the new narrative, the meat grinder. So the Russians just going to wait for the Ukrainians to attack, and then they're going to annihilate the attacking force. Well, what happens if the Ukrainians don't attack? Well, what then? Then the Russians not going to move forward or what? Because in the speech that Putin gave on the 21st of December to the military command, he clearly pointed out, as well in the press conference the day after, that he's very concerned about the lives and well-being of the troops. And he specifically stated also that for them to attack the Ukrainians or go in a more speedier way and advance and so on, will basically lead to huge unacceptable losses on the Russian side. So I'm sorry, I don't see much action going to happen in any case. And I don't understand what the Russian initial plan was. The only thing is that I can think of is that, yes, there is a rumor that Putin said that he underestimated Ukrainians. And that the intelligence might not have been that good. Well, yes, I have to some form of agree with that. Firstly, I don't think that Putin made any provision that, well, he assumed that with a threatening action on Kiev, that Zelensky would capitulate and sign an agreement quickly, but he didn't make provision for Boris Johnson and NATO to tell him to do no. And also, I believe that the indoctrination of the population in Ukraine, being from pro-Russia to anti-Russia, I think Putin also underestimated that type of reality. And that actually comes out of his press conference on the 22nd of December, if you read between the lines. A way that was a part of, we talked about the Western influence. I don't have a video of it that now or cut out. But as you can see, Russian troops did not go into the Donbass Lugansk Oblast. They went into Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, in the Kharkiv Oblast, and that has to be called by all standards as an invasion. And therefore, Russia is wrong. Yes, okay. Maybe it's just semantics. Anyways, that's my story for today. If you like what you heard, press the like button. Tell your friends, spread the word. Click the bell to be notified of a new video. And until next time, cheers.